Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. We welcome everyone to Unity Spiritual Community in Citrus Heights, where we all are at home. Foibles, blessings, strengths, gifts, shortcomings, and all. We are loved just the way we are. We welcome those who are joining us on Facebook live stream and on Zoom this morning, as well as those who are here at the Sylvan Community Center. So let's have a prayer as we open our service and know that we have been called together by divine appointment this morning, that we are here for what we can learn from each other, what we can give, what we can receive, what we can share. And we know each person here is blessed by all the others. And we say, thank you, God. Thank you. Amen. And so now I've asked Ashley Forsyth, who is the secretary of our board, to share today's daily word.
Hi, everybody. Today is Sunday, June 25th. 2023, and the word for today is joy. I am blessed with indwelling joy. In John's gospel, Jesus prays his disciples and all who receive their message will experience for themselves the joy he knows. I share in Jesus' joy as I remember I am a living expression of the divine, created in God's image and likeness, just as Jesus was. My ability to express love, life, wisdom, and other qualities of God is limited only by my willingness to live from my spiritual nature. I am one with God and one in the allness of God with all people everywhere. The joy Jesus described remains with me no matter what is happening around me. I know wholeness in the midst of illness, abundance amid the appearance of lack. Even sadness in the aftermath of loss cannot overtake my joy. And the scripture today is from John chapter 15, verse 11. It reads, I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Joy.
And now, will you please join me in singing our first congregational song? Please rise. We're going to sing, I Am As God Created Me. And we're going to sing it with joy.
Yes.
I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory, in the love, glories of God. I did the wrong one. Let's do that one. This is the second one. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am again. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory of God. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory of God. I am. All right, we're going to take this opportunity to bless our prayer requests, which are, we have left requests in the prayer box in the lobby. So Ashley's going to do some quick searching around in the PowerPoint. She's so clever. And we know that we each have concerns that lay on our heart, whether for ourselves or our loved ones or for the world. And we just want to take those into this precious inner chamber this morning, in this place where we know that God is present and that we know that all is well. Sometimes things can feel a little askew, like if the service goes out of order, and we just affirm that that we can go into that place where joy is with us in every moment, and ground into that centering place of the Christ Spirit. So we do that now with those prayer requests and with any that you hold in your heart. And we release those requests into the loving care of the Christ Spirit this morning. We also invite you to pray with our prayer chaplains after service. We're going to do a little demonstration with our featurette, and hopefully Sylvia will be coming and for that. Or you can call Silent Unity. The number's there. We also Unity also has, I think actually we need to change this. Their new app is called is it Be Unity, right?
That sounds familiar.
Right. And so the You Pray app, I think, is no longer valid. So we invite you to do that. And so now at this time, I invite you to prepare with me for a time of meditation. Oh, Spirit, guide me deep inside me. Take me to my heart place, the place of ease and grace. Breathe in this moment, the sacred moment. I am peace. I am renewed.
Beginning this time of meditation, let us each enter the prayer prayer chamber in our hearts, sinking deeply, turning within. We keep that divine appointment, the one we have held with God since the beginning of time. As we loose our attention from the cares of the world, we realize that God has always been present, always available. God awaits in the secret place of the Most High, ever ready, ever listening and responding. We contemplate a life of prayer. What would it feel like to include God in every decision, to partner with the Almighty throughout each day? How would we be changed if we put God first in our lives? How would our relationships be changed if we expressed our true identities as agents of light and love? What would the world be like if we each released fear, taking each breath deeply and easily, walking straight and tall, allowing our truth to shine forth from our eyes? For this is our divine birthright, our sacred inheritance. It is ours for the claiming. As we shed our false identity and live from our true selves, we find a natural flow of power, wisdom, faith, and compassion. These traits and many more spring forth from the depths of our being, where they have always been. We need only break open the dam of negativity and error thinking that hold them back. It is so easy. It requires much less energy than maintaining a life filled with fear and limitation. We just let go, turning to God again and again, finding comfort and guidance and great peace. Each time that we return to the world refreshed by this sacred activity of prayer, the world seems brighter, friendlier, and easier to navigate. We are strengthened and softened by giving our cares to the Lord. Let us now each turn within and experience that sweet, holy presence as we share some time in the silence. Returning our awareness to this sanctuary, we retain the knowing that God is always closer to us than our bodies, closer than our thoughts. We live and move and have our being in God mind. We need only to remember that it is so, now and forevermore.
My family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. So now, we wanted to do a featurette for you today about praying with a prayer chaplain. So Stevie, you want to come up with me? And because we realized that some people may not know what to expect when we go up to approach a prayer chaplain for prayer, right? And so we decided to give you a little demo of that experience. But before we do that, I would like to tell you what a prayer chaplain does. And the things that we're trained to do by Light and Love Ministries, who train the program that we have, is these 4 steps, and they just drill these into us over and over again. We hold spiritual space, we lovingly listen, pray from the heart, and we hold in confidence what is shared. So super important that we hold that in confidence. Let's say that again, you and me together. How about that? Hold spiritual space.
Hold spiritual space.
Lovingly listen.
Lovingly listen.
Praise from the heart.
Praise from the heart.
And hold in confidence what is shared.
And hold in confidence what is shared.
And prayer chaplains, we're not ordained. We don't advise or fix. And what we do is we support the minister, who is Reverend Carla, in providing pastoral care for the congregants, which is you. And this, for us, is a sacred trust. So in this scenario, Stevie's the congregant, and Sylvia was going to be the prayer chaplain, but because Sylvia is not here, I'm going to go ahead and be that. So come a little closer so the mic will pick you up for all those people in Facebook and Zoom. And so Stevie's going to go ahead and approach me, and I'm going to, so here we go. So how may I pray with you today, Steve?
Hello. So I'd like a prayer for my ex-husband. He's having health issues, and housing issues.
Okay. So, and your ex-husband, you'd like prayer for your ex-husband who's having housing issues and health issues? Okay. And what is his name?
John.
John.
Kaplinger.
All right. So Stevie, let's just go to our heart space in this moment, affirming the presence of God. Breathe into that space of love, seeing John enfolded in God's love. And we see your care for him, and we just know that, that he is in this space of love with you, and that all is in order in John's life. Did I say John? Okay. And that every cell in his body is perfect and whole. And we see him healed. We hold him in this place of healing, knowing that it is so, and that all is in order and all is well. And we release these prayers into the loving care of the Christ Spirit today. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and that's a really important part of it. We do release the prayers, and we don't bring them up don't expect us to ask you, how's John doing, right? Because we release that knowing that it is true. And if you want to tell us later, oh, John is doing so much better, that's fine, but we won't bring it up. Okay. Stevie, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay.
When the prayer chaplains take their training, they are then installed for a year. And sometimes, based on when we can schedule the training again, we're a little flexible in that amount of time. But it is basically for a year, and they're asked to repeat the training. You repeated it, didn't you, Stevie? So then we install them, which I think is such a kind of a mechanical word, and I like to say it's the prayer chaplain dedication. So I asked Lisa and Stevie to come forward and to face me here. In the book of Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah is asked by God, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Isaiah responds, Here am I, send me. And today we gather to celebrate and recognize you both, and Sylvia as well, for you have said, Here am I, send me. Heeding the call to being a prayer chaplain means you were first willing to complete a weekend of training. And in addition, you've committed to maintain a daily spiritual journey based on love, faith, prayer, and gratitude. To demonstrate an active commitment to Unity's principles and beliefs. To hold a spiritual space of possibility for others and yourself, knowing and trusting that God is present. You've committed to prayer, both with yourself and with others, and to lovingly listen, to having and demonstrating a genuine interest in the well-being of congregants and the other prayer chaplains, and to hold all that is shared in strict confidence. In the awareness of divine guidance which led you to this moment of commitment, I invite you to look into your heart space. And if your heart says yes, I ask that you respond to these questions with the words, I am. Are you willing to accept this commitment and dedication?
I am.
Are you willing to remember to open a space for God no matter what?
I am.
Are you willing to do your best to stay prayed up?
I am.
Are you willing to support the other members of the prayer chaplain team?
I am.
And are you willing to practice exquisite self-care?
I am.
So, blessed ones, you have said, yes, I will create a space filled with compassion and love for anyone seeking it. I thank you for your time, your energy, and your dedication. I thank you for the many, many visible and invisible ripples of blessings which will be the result of your loving service. You are indeed an incredible gift to this ministry. And so we now recognize our prayer chaplain team for the coming year. Let me turn around. We have our team leader. Turn and stay. Our team leader, Lisa Lawson. Our returning chaplain, Stevie Kaplinger. And we do have a new chaplain, Sylvia Wheeler. And we invite our congregation to join in the unity blessing, and you can just repeat after me each segment. We thank you. We thank you. We love you. We love you. We bless you. We bless you. And we behold the Christ in you. So chaplains, please take an envelope from the front table and return to your seats as we sing the prayer chaplain dedication song. And get out your Kleenex.
By the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry.
Today we complete our fairy tale theater series. We began this series 6 weeks ago, and in previous weeks we discussed Bluebeard, the Baba Yaga, Cinderella, Oz, and Peter Pan. Today we look at Snow White and our inner stepmother. You notice how many fairy tales have stepmothers. There's a reason for that, because you've got one too. She's the one that whispers those things about your not being good enough. Snow White is one of the most enduring fairy tales of all times. It's hard to say when and where it was first told, probably several hundred years ago in Germany. It has been told and retold with variations many, many times over the years, and continues to be retold in modern cinema. The reason that certain stories and myths are so enduring is that they represent archetypical forces in the human psyche. The best interpretation of these tales is when we realize that each character in them is part of our own psychology. The different versions of Snow White vary in the details. In some, it was her mother, not her stepmother. In some, the dwarves, who were diamond miners, were maybe knights. In some, she was poisoned by a ring instead of an apple, or awakened by a kiss, or they're just little details. But today, I'm going to tell the tale primarily based on the version by the Brothers Grimm from 1812. We're going to open it with the new opening that we have learned in this series instead of Once Upon a Time. And this is the opening that reflects that tales exist on more than one plane. Once there was, and once there was not. A young princess whose mother had died when she was born. Her father remarried, so she was being raised by her stepmother. Her stepmother used to look in a mirror and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror always replied, "You are, my queen." Until one day, when Snow White was 7 years old, the mirror replied, "Although you are fair upon fair, there is one who is fairer still, the Princess Snow White." The queen ordered a hunter to take Snow White to the woods and kill her and bring back her heart. Well, the hunter could not bring himself to do this. So he set Snow White free in the woods and took the queen the heart of a deer instead. Snow White wandered around the woods and eventually found the house where the 7 dwarves lived, and they were miners. They were diamond miners. And they allowed her to live with them as an indentured domestic slave. I think that's my wording, considering how I feel about housework. When the queen once again asked the mirror, she learned that Snow White was still alive and began plotting to kill her. So the queen appeared at the dwarves' house 3 times. First as a peddler who laces a corset around Snow White so tight that she passes out and is left for dead. But the dwarves come home in time, and they remove the corset and revive her. The second time the queen comes in a different disguise, and she gave Snow White a poison comb. Snow White used it and again passed out and was left for dead, and she is once again saved by the dwarves. The third time, the queen offers Snow White a poisoned apple and once again leaves her for dead. This time, the dwarves are unable to revive her. Thinking her dead, the dwarves place her in a glass-top coffin. And then one day, a prince happens along and falls in love with her. He convinces the dwarves to sell him the coffin. As it is being transported, the coffin is shaken and a piece of apple is dislodged from Snow White's throat, and she awakens. Other versions have her awakened by the prince's kiss, which you may prefer that version if you like kissing dead people. And the prince and Snow White live happily ever after. They even find a way to kill the evil queen. The end. Just as there are many different versions of the tale, there are many different ways to interpret the symbols in the tale. And today, we will look at some of them, but there are many more available. In each human psyche, there are a masculine and a feminine energy. The terms that Carl Jung used to describe these are the animus and the anima. The tale of Snow White can be interpreted as the struggle of the human psyche to reach maturity when there is an absence of strong, positive role models for both the anima and the animus. In the case of Snow White, the anima model was the mother who died in childbirth. And the animus model was the absent father who did not protect her from the new queen. In the absence of a positive model for the anima, the human psyche can create false models, seemingly strong, but actually destructive. This is symbolized by the wicked stepmother. Lacking the strength of a mature anima, we can develop personality traits that are queenly, perhaps bossy, with a sense of entitlement. So I ask, has there ever been a time in your own life when you tried to bluff your way through a difficult situation? When your feathers were ruffled because you felt disrespected? And speaking of feathers, a time when you puffed yourself up to protect your turf. Notice that the queen seeks her validation from the outer world, asking her mirror who is the fairest. She didn't know. She wasn't a Unity student, or she would have known that we create our reality with our beliefs and that the world faithfully mirrors back our self-concept. She also seeks validation from things that are superficially feminine, mainly her appearance. Am I the fairest of them all? Has there been a time in your own life when your appearance was more important than what was on the inside? Or when you looked to another person or a job, a house, a wardrobe to provide your words? The mirror says Snow White is fairer when Snow White is 7 years old, and 7 is a powerful number. Metaphysically speaking, it's one of the power numbers. In the Roman Catholic Church, children are given their first Holy Communion at what is called the age of reason. Sometimes it's called the ego, in that a person develops a sense of self, that self-ego, develops the right to have a choice and a will. The human psyche has developed to the age of reason. and it may be outgrowing the need for the false anima, therefore fairer than the queen, Snow White, at the age of 7, had reached the age of reason. And that's when she was fairer than the queen. The psyche does not give up on the queen without a struggle. That's an inner struggle between you and your inner stepmother. As indicated by the queen's order to have Snow White killed, and the 3 attempts the queen made to kill Snow White. So has there ever been a time in your own life when you struggled between 2 worldviews? Or when you were tempted to do what was easy instead of what was right? This really strikes home for me. When I was in the corporate world, I struggled between wanting to move ahead in business, knowing that I was very good at it and could probably make a lot of money, but also knowing that it didn't mean anything. And what meant something was my calling for ministry. And I was on that fence for years. Did I want to stay? Did I want to go? These are the times we struggle between 2 worldviews. So let's look at the 3 attempts that the queen made to kill Snow White. First, they all represent feminine energy. The corset, the comb, the apple like shades of Eve, should we say? If we tell ourselves that we are thin enough, pretty enough, sweet enough, we will be loved. In each case, when the false anima overpowered the newly formed ego with feminine symbols from the outer realm, the ego was subdued for a while. It means Snow White fell down like she was dead. Another interpretation of the 3 attempts by the queen is that the number 3 is associated with the resurrection. We know there were 3 days between the crucifixion and the resurrection. These are initiation experiences. Yesterday in our workshop on Persephone and the Beltane, we talked about this. We talked about Michael Meade from the men's movement, who shared that the psyche was wired for initiation experiences to serve as rites of passage. And if these experiences were not provided, like as rituals in the society, then the psyche would use illness or injury or psychological loss as a trigger to have the person move to the next level of development. In women, we speak of the maiden, the mother, and the crone as the 3 segments of a woman's life and development. And I believe that in my own life, my passage from maiden to mother was triggered by a hospitalization in my early 20s. And my passage from mother to crone was triggered at the age of 51 when I broke my ankle. And you could do a timeline in your own life and see where you had initiatory experiences and how you changed, how your life changed afterward. Snow White's 3 brushes with her death were her initiation into womanhood from maidenhood. Now let's discuss the animus, the masculine part of the ego. You'll remember that Snow White had a very weak masculine role model in the form of her indolent father. There are 10 men in this story: her father, the hunter, the 7 dwarves, and the prince. Each represents an aspect of the human psyche in both men and women. And as we strive to develop a mature animus, that psychological energy that provides and protects, we can act on false ideas of what masculine energy is like. That's the seven dwarves. That's what they symbolize. And I know it's not a politically correct term anymore. They weren't dwarves in every version of the story, but in this one they were only half as big as most men, which symbolizes a weak animus. They were small. They did not have strong masculine names, at least in the Disney movies. Their names were Dopey, Dizzy, Sleepy, Sneezy, Happy, Bashful, and Grumpy. You should remember those. Sometimes there's a test. You can bet that the prince did not have any of those names. Snow White, as the human psyche, lacking a strong role model for the animus, created substitutes, but they were weak and innocuous. It is also noteworthy that the dwarves were diamond miners, so they too looked to the outer for their provision. However, the number seven dwarves, is a number of completion. Another interesting aspect of the relationship between Snow White and the dwarves is her role as the housekeeper and cook. In fact, she was a princess. She was born to be a queen, a ruler, a leader. But she was willing to accept a more submissive feminine role in her efforts to reach maturity. And many of us in our path into adulthood assume and discard roles that don't fit or that we have outgrown. So ask yourself, has there ever been a time in your life when you settled for less? When you made yourself small in order to feel safe? Most women would say yes. And finally, Snow White sleeps from the poison apple. And in this sleep, she got respite from the struggles of the world and of her emerging ego. In this sleep, she turned within. In this sleep, she processed all of these experiences and was able to heal her psyche. And then, ta-da, here comes the prince. And the prince represents the mature animus. When Snow White manifested that aspect of her psyche, it helped her dislodge the piece of poison apple or the belief in the false anima and became her partner. Prince and princess, king and queen, animus and anima, equally balanced forces within each of us. They equip us to meet the world with quiet confidence, born of knowing that it all comes from within, and that we have within us everything we need to overcome false beliefs and self-images. The end. And thus ends today's lesson. God bless you all.
I let it go. I release that thing I'm at this time and ask the ushers to come forward. So we are going to bless our offering with the song that is the Divine Love. I invite you to sing with me. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all I receive, and all that I am. Divine love flowing through me, blessings and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Freely, freely I have received, freely, freely I give. Divine love through me blesses all that I have, all that I give and receive. Freely, freely I have received, freely, freely I give. Divine love through me blesses all that I have, all that I give and receive. And so it is.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Usher. Thank you, congregants. Thank you, God. All right, we have some announcements. In the weekly newsletter that came out yesterday was an entire July calendar, which means that Lisa and I get gold stars for planning it that far ahead. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you do not receive our email, you need to sign up for it. You can do that on our website, unitycitrusites.org. For many reasons, including it'll tell you where we're going to be meeting, because we meet in person 3 or 4 Sundays a month, and on Zoom 1 Sunday a month. And I know it's pretty frustrating when you show up and we're not here. Next week, July the 2nd, Christy Mattel is going to be our guest speaker. She's talking about the Freedom Revolution, and Lisa will be our musician. And then I wanted to go over some highlights from the month of July. Next Sunday also, later in the day, is the monthly full moon celebration at Lightweaver Metaphysical Boutique. And it starts like at 1 in the afternoon with a psychic fair. They have many readers and different people set up if you want to purchase a reading. That's in the afternoon, like 1 to 5. And the reason I mention it is that then I'm going to be leading part of the ceremony, and after that, Titch the witch, is going to lead a full moon ritual. They have a great big oak tree outside, and they like to meet outside for these things. So that's next Sunday also. Then on Friday the 7th, when we have our first Friday meditation, or monthly meditation, the woman who owns Lightweaver is going to be our guest leader. If you'll remember, last month we had one of the leaders from Sac Ions lead the meditation, and this month we're having the owner of Lightweaver. This is all our community partners as we do outreach and network with like-minded people in Citrus Heights. On Sunday the 16th, we're having Community Sunday. You may remember we started this idea last month, and Community Sunday can be special in many different ways. In July, we are going to bring back the potluck and the potlatch. Now, you know what a potluck is. And a potlatch is a giveaway table where people bring things they're ready to release, and they take home other people's stuff. You may remember that Donna Allwater made her transition a couple of months ago. Dick and Donna Allwater were long time members and supporters of our ministry. So Dick called and said that on Saturday, July 22nd, they're going to have a very informal celebration of life at their home. And everybody is invited. They don't want you to bring anything. So we're announcing it today, but as we get closer, we'll put all the details in the newsletters, so you don't have to write this down, but it's on the 22nd, Saturday the 22nd of July, and we'll make sure you have the address. Then on Sunday the 23rd, we're going to have a YOU, Youth of Unity, family outing to Lake Natomas. Lisa's been working with this group for several months now, and this is for the teens and for their parents because it's a family outing. And one last announcement. We decided to do quarterly outreach. The board decided. We'd been doing outreach 3 times a year when we just upped it 4 times a year. And this quarter, the one that begins in July, August, September, the outreach recipients are going to be the Days for Girls organization. There's some brochures on the table in the lobby if you'd like to take them. We will be sharing more in weeks to come because Lisa will put a link on our website for you to donate money. And on the 30th of July, the local organizer, Karen Wilkie, is going to be here, and after our service, she's going to give a presentation of the 3 years she spent in Africa, in 5 different countries, including Rwanda, working with latrines and other choice subjects. Beautiful presentation. I've experienced it through the Women's Club. And so that'll be the last Sunday of July, but we're beginning our quarter right now. I mean, the first Sunday of July, and so you'll be hearing things before Karen gets here. And that's just an overview of the month to come, and a reminder that after our service today, we are having our prayer circle. And we're planning to have this like once a month. It's something we used to do, and Lisa will be leading that. So please stay and join us for that. And now I think it's time for our peace song.
Please rise and join hands if you'd like. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now for our prayer for protection, we know that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week.